Hello, my fellow lorehounds, and welcome to my brand new series. In this episodic chain, we will be diving into the origins of different Slayer creatures within Runescape. Enjoy. Runescape Lore Slayer Creatures Chapter 1 The Stalkers. Within the multiverse, originally from the lower planes, a massive rock was hurtling its way through the cosmos, its massive size warping the gravity of nearby worlds. This huge asteroid had a name, Ocularis. Sometime before the start of the Third Age in Gielinor, the first Seeker was born in its depths. As the Seeker sought life, its only path was to consume. In Grondabon's Stalker notes, he writes,
"Like a cancer he spread, clinging to walls and gripping to the rocks, multiplying in a way that I can only explain as metastasis, as if the moon was birthing a growth itself. Within minutes, it was consumed. Through power and chaos, what was once a world of stone was now a world of living flesh."
This Seeker would now be known as the Father. But although the Father now had a brain, he lacked the means to sense its surrounding environment, since he was not really alive. In Grondabon's Stalker notes, he continues by saying,
"A battle of static energy fought for dominance in the stone brain, with each spark signaling a sense. The brain could not decide which was the important, which one was the correct sense that a living organism needed. If it could only choose one, the brain needed to see."
With his newly forged eye, he continued to travel the universe, watching and learning as he did. At some point, Ocularis found its way above Infernus, while Zamorak was leading the Avernic rebellion against the Synthonians. While they were unaware of his presence above them, Ocularis merely watched them, studying and learning about life as they waged war against their former masters. He saw beauty in their fighting and in being one of many. When the war ended, Ocularis was confused and joyous. He wanted to experience things he could not, being a stone brain encased in flesh. Grondabon, in his Stalker notes, recounts what happens next. It reads,
"A brain of stone cannot comprehend the true essence of being a living thing, and he knew this. So, like a malignance awaking from its dormancy, in a moment of proliferation, the flesh bubbled and boiled and birthed a whole new race, the race we know of as Stalkers. These beings, made in his image, were more than he could be. These beings could hear, they could taste, they could feel, they could procreate, but most importantly, they could see. They could see what we could not see. So he sent his children across the universe to watch, to learn and to listen. For him."
Ocularis is said to be insane, and any being who converses with it will go mad as well. In the book Scions of Erebus, written by an unknown author, it believes that Ocularis may be aware of the existence of Erebus, but dismissed it as a source of knowledge due to the aforementioned difficulties with communicating with it. Following the banishment of Zamorak at the end of the God Wars, the Majara Bilrock in the year 1225 of the Fourth Age arose from a long slumber. Desiring to bring back Zamorak at all costs, he arrived in Daemonheim with a large party of human, giant, and hobgoblin in order to reach the Rift, an unstable space with weak boundaries, which would be enough to bring his lord unto Gielinor, and bypass Guthic's edicts that the Balance God had set in place. Early on into Bilrock's excavation, with the use of his highly volatile and experimental portal magic, he discovered the Stalkers, which he enslaved and used to protect his path. In the first written Stalker notes by Grondabon, we learn about these creatures who first appeared on the frozen floors. It reads,
4th Age, year 1832, date unknown. Of all the creatures our master has brought through from other realms, the Stalkers are by far the greatest triumph. Their very form is weapon in itself. Floating grotesqueries that are essentially giant eyeballs, or clusters of eyeballs with vicious maws in places none would expect. They also command great control over magic. Even the rank-and-file Stalkers and the smaller Seekers have great resistance to the magics of our world. The dark, twisted energies that are so rife in their home plane, coupled with the inherent magical nature of the beasts themselves, have allowed several unique and powerful Stalkers to develop from chaotic evolution. One such unique example calls itself Plain Freezer Lachranaz in our tongue. I regret asking it to state its name in its own tongue, as the resultant combination of both audible and inaudible sound from its many lipless mouths gave me a huge headache and caused blood to cascade from my nose, which Lachranaz then froze. This one has great power over temperature, and I believe the best place for it is to near the surface, where the environment is cold, barren, and most importantly, far away from me.
As Bilrock and company continue to delve further into the inner workings of Daemonheim, Grondabon continues to study the Stalkers, who now reside over the furnished floors. He continues,
4th Age, year 1832, date unknown. The Stalkers build nests formed of a combination of debris and biological matter that they produce and spit from their gaping maws. They mainly use their nests for resting and growing, but also to spawn in them. The creatures reproduce asexually, from what I've witnessed. A single eye with a snake-like optic nerve slid out of one of the creature's eye sockets, burrowing into the nest and out of sight, presumably to grow. I have such knowledge of Stalker nests because a particularly powerful one, calling itself Night Gazer Kigarok, has set one up in what used to be my private chamber. I came back to find my enchanted torches extinguished and an unnatural darkness. When I lit one of the torches, the creature shrieked and recoiled, lashing at me with its tentacles. I extinguished my light source, and the creature regained composure. It seems this creature is at home in darkness, and uses the Cloak of Shadows to its advantage. I have decided it is in my best interests to requisition new private quarters and leave the beast to its doings. We will soon be moving further down to rejoin the Master anyway, and this creature will act as a powerful guardian against any daring to follow us.
With Stalker in tow, the party continues its search for the rift, but Grondabon is thoroughly intrigued by these Stalkers' mannerisms. As they press on into the abandoned 2 floors, he observes the new Stalker species to be found. His notes say,
4th Age, year 1832, date unknown. The Stalkers are intelligent creatures, and are capable of startlingly intellectual conversation in their tongue. The varying magics that the different types of Stalkers use also shows that they are capable of independent thought. The creatures also seem to react to others far away from them, indicating some kind of shared consciousness. The Stalkers are a strange and powerful race, and I am glad they chose to ally with us, instead of rallying against us. Such powerful, intelligent creatures could have caused our master serious hindrance. The Stalker I saw today was, as usual, different from the rest by some degree. For a start, this creature cannot, or does not, fly. It drags its mass along the ground when it is forced to move. However, it tends to suspend itself from whatever is available using long tentacles. The creature has positioned itself above the ladder shaft that leads from this floor of the dungeon to the next. A perfect position to guard the only point of access to the next floor from interlopers. This stalker calls itself Shadow Forger Ilakazan, and wields both light and darkness to attack its foes. I witnessed it dispose of a slave who tried to flee the dungeons. While the slave was fighting it, Ilakazan let out a brilliant flash of light, disorienting the fool. In a panic, he fled and took refuge in the shadows, which engulfed and devoured him, leaving no trace that he was ever there. This creature is by far the most unnerving and grotesque of the stalkers I have witnessed thus far. I will be glad when we abandon this floor tomorrow and move on to the next one.
By this point, Bilrock is in command now of many unsavory beasts. Behemoths, Calgarian demon, and even a humanoid race known as the Graho. But Grondabon has only one thing on his mind, the Stalkers. As they reach the occult floors, his documents continue, and it reads,
4th Age, year 1832, date unknown. My studies into the Stalkers have given me a reputation among the other mages, as if my findings are less worthwhile than their empty parlor tricks. They cannot see the magnificence of the Stalker, the repugnant wonder that fills you whenever you stare into their eyes. Just yesterday, I stumbled upon another reason to admire them. While I sat and sketched in a Stalker nesting pool, a Bovamastix wandered in. Before I could shepherd it back out, a large single-eyed Stalker rose from the pools and began circling it, its single pupil flashing with some form of luminescence. I sat back down and took notes, while the Bovamastix whinnied and looked understandably uncomfortable. Halting suddenly, the Stalker flashed a red pupil and exploded with a thunderous crack, knocking the Mastix to the floor, bloody and stunned. I could only watch in fascination as smaller Stalkers slipped from the larger Stalker's carcass and began to devour both the body of the Mastix and what must have been their mother. A wondrous sight.
The warped floors are upon them now, and their journey was coming to a conclusion. Bilrock, Grondabon, and the rest of their remaining troops held standby, but, in the remaining notes, is a familiar creature preventing them from obtaining their goals? It says,
4th Age, year 1845. My journals are missing. I have horrible, terrible images of Bilrock pacing through the upper floors of Daemonheim, poring over any disrespectful entry and tearing it out, littering the floors with my prose. Indeed, everything written has gone missing from my offices. The requisition forms, the environmental notes, the written pieces I have collected on my travels. Nothing good can come from this. I fear a terrible cloud hangs over me in these weatherless depths. There is nothing left to do. I must continue as if all is well, and merely hope. My next task is to research a creature newly come to this plane. Bilrock has asked me to write notes on Shklarhaz, a stalker that is remarkable because it is so unremarkable. It is neither aggressive or communicative. It shall be a curious case, and it could yield useful results in taming of the stalkers. But my dark cloud also has a voice, and that voice tells me that this stalker is by no means benign. Bilrock, be merciful. Let this not be a trap.
Thank you everyone for listening. RuneScape forever.